Welcome back. I can tell you today that enlightenment has come to America. Nirvana, a term derived from ancient Buddhist teachings, represents the ultimate state of spiritual liberation. It is a transcendent state where one is freed from suffering, attachment, and the cycle of rebirth. While the pursuit of nirvana has historically been associated with Eastern traditions, particularly Buddhism, there are American individuals who have either attained or are believed to have attained this state of enlightenment. These individuals, through meditation, mindfulness, and a deep commitment to spiritual practice, have realized profound states of awareness and liberation, demonstrating that the path to nirvana is not confined by geographical or cultural boundaries. Today I will talk about the lives and spiritual achievements of several Americans who have attained or are said to have attained nirvana. Before delving into the stories of Americans who have attained nirvana, it is essential to understand how Eastern philosophies, particularly Buddhism, gained a foothold in the United States. The introduction of Buddhism to the West can be traced back to the 19th and early 20th centuries when figures like Swami Vivekananda and D.T. Suzuki began to popularize Eastern thought. In the mid-20th century, American interest in meditation, mindfulness, and the concept of enlightenment exploded, particularly during the 1960s and 70s, when figures like the Dalai Lama and Thich Nhat Hanh became prominent in the Western spiritual landscape. This influx of Eastern spiritual practices and philosophies paved the way for many Americans to adopt meditation and mindfulness practices, seeking not only psychological well-being, but also spiritual awakening. Some of these individuals, through their dedication to spiritual practice, are believed to have attained nirvana, or at least to have reached a state of profound spiritual realization. One of the most well-known American spiritual teachers is Jack Kornfield, a prominent Buddhist monk and author who has been instrumental in bringing Buddhist meditation practices to the United States. Kornfield's journey to spiritual realization began in the 1970s when he traveled to Thailand, Burma, and India to study under Buddhist masters, including Ajahn Chah and the Venerable Mahasi Sayadaw. His experiences in Asia deepened his understanding of meditation and led him to a more profound state of awareness and enlightenment. While Kornfield does not claim to have attained nirvana in the traditional sense, his teachings and personal experience suggest that he has realized a deep level of spiritual awakening. His books, such as A Path with Heart and The Wise Heart, emphasize the importance of mindfulness, compassion, and understanding the nature of suffering. Through his meditation practice, Kornfield has experienced what many would describe as moments of clarity, insight, and liberation from the usual mental patterns of suffering. His ability to help others find peace through his teachings and meditation retreats suggests that he has attained a high degree of spiritual realization close to what nirvana represents in Buddhist tradition. Kornfield's approach combines both the deep meditative practices he learned in Asia with the psychological insights he gained through his background in Western psychology. This fusion has made his teachings resonate with a broad American audience, many of whom have found their own path through spiritual awakening through his guidance. Another American teacher who is often associated with spiritual realization is Ram Dass, born Richard Alpert. And I have been fortunate to see him give presentations in both Durham, North Carolina, and Chicago, Illinois. Ram Dass's spiritual journey began in the 1960s when he was a Harvard professor and a prominent figure in the countercultural movement. After experimenting with psychedelic drugs, he traveled to India where he met his guru, Neem Karoli Baba, who gave him the name Ram Dass, meaning servant of God. Ram Dass's teachings focused on love, devotion, and the transformative power of spiritual practice. He often spoke of moments of spiritual awakening and his experiences of what he described as Nirvana. In his seminal book, Be Here Now, Ram Dass describes his journey from intellectual skepticism to a deeper experiential understanding of spiritual truths. His journey from a Western academic to a spiritual teacher who helped bring Eastern practices to the U.S. exemplifies the merging of Eastern and Western paths to enlightenment. Though Ram Dass never explicitly claimed to have attained nirvana in the traditional Buddhist sense, his deep experiences of oneness and the transcendence of ego suggest that he reached a state of profound spiritual realization. Ram Dass's ability to transmit the essence of spiritual awakening through his teachings, retreats, and writings has impacted countless individuals, many of whom have experienced transformative shifts in consciousness that bring them closer to what nirvana represents. Adyashanti, born Stephen Gray in 1962, is a modern American spiritual teacher who has also been associated with the experiences of spiritual liberation akin to nirvana. Adyashanti's journey began in his late teens when he began exploring meditation and studying Zen Buddhism. His deep desire for truth led him to study under a Zen master for several years, and eventually Adyashanti himself began to experience moments of profound spiritual awakening. In the early 1990s, Adyashanti experienced a significant realization that he describes as an awakening or an encounter with a state of boundless awareness. This experience, which he describes as the cessation of the personal self, aligns closely with the concept of nirvana. According to Adyashanti, nirvana is not a goal to be reached, but a realization of the true nature of existence. In his teachings, he emphasizes that the essence of nirvana lies in the direct experience of awakening to the truth of who we really are, beyond the ego, beyond attachment, and beyond suffering. Adyashanti's teachings emphasize that spiritual liberation is available to anyone who is willing to fully surrender to the present moment and let go of the false identification with the ego. For Adyashanti, nirvana is not a distant state, but something that can be realized in everyday life. His clarity and profound insights into the nature of mind and suffering have led many of his students to experience moments of deep spiritual realization, which they describe as awakening to nirvana. The attainment of nirvana is often seen as a rare and extraordinary achievement, typically associated with Buddhist monks or enlightened sages from the East. However, the stories of Americans like Jack Kornfield, Ram Dass, and Adyashanti show that the path to nirvana is not confined by geographical or cultural boundaries. These figures have not only helped bring Eastern spiritual practices to the West, but have also shown through their own lives and teachings that the realization of nirvana is available to anyone willing to embark on the path of meditation, mindfulness, and self-inquiry. While these teachers may not claim to have fully attained nirvana in the traditional sense, their teachings point to a profound realization of spiritual truth, an experience of freedom from suffering, attachment, and ego. Their journeys towards spiritual awakening have inspired countless others in the United States to embark on their own paths toward nirvana. Through meditation, self-awareness, and compassion, Americans have proven that spiritual liberation is within the reach of those who seek it with sincerity and dedication.